attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. And now, this is going to be my 1-year special. In fact, I do believe that I will be posting a Q&A tonight as well. So, do keep an eye on that. Now, what if Deku was a son of Hawks and Miruko, the rabbit hero? Obviously, there is going to be a lot of changes. Hawk is in canon currently where Deku is 15, Hawks is 23. Miruko is 26. We are aging the characters up as to avoid confusion. Now, with that being said, let us begin. Deku, well, right out of high school, his parents, they became pro-heroes. Hawks and her, or Miruko, I want to say are at least born within the same year, in this timeline. And they actually do meet. Sometime around their final year, or at least during their high school time. Trying to become pro-heroes. Now, the two, they were friends, but at the same time they were also, sort of, rivals in some degree. At one point, you could say that they were both battling for a spot. They were, at one point in their lives, battling for the top 10 spots, right at the beginning of their hero careers. And it all came to a head whenever, 2 years later, Hawks finally secured the top 10 spots, and was able to actually keep it for 3 months straight. Miruko, she was jealous, but at the same time she did have a deep respect for Hawk, with the fact that he has been trying a lot. In fact, they've been climbing the rankings at a very high speed, and the fact that he's finally made it to the top 10 proves it. She still does have a lot more training to go. However, that's not going to stop her. And we do at least have another 6 to 9 months later. Hawks, he held the top 10 spot. But after a pro hero either died or retired, he moved up to number 9. And Miruko, who was rank 11 at the time, she dropped into, or no, she was rank 12 at the time, but then she dropped into rank 11. And then after that, a couple weeks later, or at least 2 to 3 days later, her agency was able to help her secure the top 10 ranking. Now, with that being said, these two eventually did meet once again. And whenever they did meet this time, they had a bit of a chance encounter. They were both talking with a joint operation their agencies may be doing, since they were in charge of taking down a villain. Now, this job came to a bit of a head. They expected to be able to catch the villain easily. However, they could not predict his quirk, and the job took far longer than expected. Within this time, that respect and rivalry that these two both shared for one another began to manifest into something different, show itself as more of an emotional attachment. And it all did actually come to a head when they did face off against the villain. Their agencies were able to take it down and actually help them jump up a bit more in hero points. Now, with that, these two eventually did at least begin to talk and see each other. It was seen as a little bit of a friendship before developing into something more. And a couple months later, or at least I want to say at least 2 years later, Izuku would be born. Meaning that Hawks and Miruko would actually be around 24 in this timeline. Actually, that does actually work, because whenever Deku would be up to 15, he would. I'm rambling again. His parents would at least be 39. Now, with that being said, sorry guys, it's been a very long day. Now, with that being said, Deku is born, and it has been a bit weird. Miruko's been talking with and actually friends with another pro hero. And, well, after learning a bit more and having to change a bit of the way she's acted, you can tell that she's going to be quite the mom. Her explosive personality and the way she at least does act and seem like does show. But there's also another fact. Both these two have similar personalities. And the pro heroes who know these two understand that they're going to have to change if they're going to have a kid. Or at least be more responsible. Like that's ever going to happen. Now, with that, Midoriya is born with a similar quirk to both his parents. And the doctors are able to immediately identify it. Izuku has rabbit ears and a rabbit tail. Along with that, there's at least, well, what seems to be strange things coming out of Midoriya's back. They cannot tell for sure. However, there's also the way his feet look. Now, Midoriya's hair, I do want to say, would be at least a lighter bit of blonde. Actually, it could be blonde with white streaks in it, actually. That would be really cool. Now, along with that, Midoriya began to at least develop his own little quirk. While Hawks is out there doing hero work, Miruko would be with Deku or Izuku, basically going through a bit of a crash course about being a parent. She did learn a few things from, well, basically being taught and learning about it from her own parents, or at least friends she does have, but it was a bit strange. And, well, there's whenever Izuku is 2 years old. And his wings have actually gotten to a bit of a significant size. Hawks has noticed this, and he actually does ask Izuku if he can try and use his quirk. Deku, he's not really saying anything. However, he does understand what his dad is trying to say. Whenever his dad actually does expand out his wings and actually flap his feathers, then beginning to fly throughout the air and move around. Izuku just watching with amazement, his eyes widening, as he actually does try and copy his dad. Midoriya trying to flap his wings and actually being able to get a little bit up in the air. However, there's also, well, a bit of excitement. Midoriya begins to run around and actually try to get it into the air, just like he's seen his dad do a million times. Now, Izuku having the abilities of a bunny rabbit and a bird. This does not end well. Midoriya ends up hopping and bouncing around the entire apartment, breaking a few things in the process, but at least showing Hawks that he does seem to have both of their quirks. Him being able to catch him with feathers and pluck him out of the air. Pun not intended. Now, after that does happen, he does have a lot of explaining to do. And Miruko is actually somewhat surprised whenever she does get home. There's a few holes in the walls, a few pictures are broken, and, well, Hawks is at least trying to piece something back together. Now, he tries to explain exactly what happened here, and Miruko doesn't really have it. Hawks probably knocked something over whenever he was trying to show off his quirk, is that right? Surprisingly, no. That being very apparent whenever Deku, he quite simply just hops upwards and straight over his mom, her being quite surprised before trying to spin around and grab Deku, having to chase him around before she ends up smashing into something, or at least falls over a coffee table. Now, with that being said, 2 years will pass, and I was gonna say Izuku Midoriya, but he's not even a Midoriya. I don't know Hawk's last name. Anyways, now, Izuku, let's say, he is taken to a quirk doctor and getting his quirk at least properly looked at. He is the son of the current ranked number 7 to 8 heroes. Now, Midoriya's quirk. After doctors do look at it and begin to perform a little bit of test, it is at least a bit more self-explanatory. It's a mixture. In fact, it seems to be carbon copies of both their quirks. However, they're not too certain as to how far this mutation could extend to. Now, that does seem to be a bit strange and odd, but it's nothing that they can't handle. Now, Deku, well, he goes to his school, or at least his preschool, and kids actually do seem to be a bit more wary of being around him. He's that kid with the mutation quirk, and a lot of people don't really know what to think of it. You have other kids who have different quirks, but they're fully mutations. Midoriya still does at least seem human. He only has the bunny ears and the wings, along with that bunny tail. It does seem to be a bit odd, but I mean, it's at least somewhat ordinary. They don't really think that his quirk is too much. However, then there's the fact that they actually do see Midoriya get dropped off one day. Hawks comes flying in and drops Midoriya off, before a loud explosion went off in the distance, and the pro hero had to get to work. Kids watching as Midoriya, well, he watches his dad take flight, immediately zooming off in the direction of the villain. Now, that actually did get quite a lot of kids' attentions, and they wanted to learn more. Midoriya explaining that that was his dad. Whoa, Izuku, your dad was... Wait, he went after a villain, right? Hmm? Yeah, my dad's a pro hero. Really? Um, is he a good one? Well, that's hard to say. What is it? I don't remember. I think it's only in Japan, or actually, I think it's worldwide. No, I think it's in Japan. Within, well, this country, I think it's a country pronounced. Hmm. Well, enough of that. It's a bit hard, but he's number 7? A lot of kids freaking out. Number 7? That's a very high number. Now, the teacher later on does have to explain that Mr. Hawks is a pro hero, and that he's actually a very famous one. The teacher having to explain that the may not know who he is because, of course, you do have heroes like All Might and Endeavor. In fact, she'd actually be surprised if they knew who Mr. or Best Jeanist is. This is actually confusing quite a lot of the other kids. Best who? Now, this is whenever Midoriya at least begins to get a little bit more attention. Other kids actually ask Midoriya questions and trying to see what his quirk can do. Midoriya, he tries to show off the feather ability, but this is a bit strange and awkward. Especially since he can't really control it very well, or make a lot of feathers at this moment. Since he still does have a bit of problems with his wings. They do at least look bigger, but, well, the feathers, they aren't exactly strong enough yet. Now, Midoriya, he does get picked up later on in the day by his mother. And a lot of people do actually see her. Now, after they head home, Midoriya actually has begun to ask his dad a few questions. Asking if his quirk is weird or does at least seem to be a bit odd. To which Hawks and Miruko do ask Midoriya why does he think that his quirk is odd. To which he tries to explain. A lot of kids in his class, they always avoided him. Some kids would talk to him and at least look at him, but they didn't really seem to want to be his friend. However, after they learned that he had a quirk, and that his parents were heroes, people actually did begin to at least seem like they were opening up. Or at least did seem a lot friendlier, as he would say. Now, this is whenever they would try and give Midoriya a bit of an explanation. Those people who are like that, they might simply not be your friend. They might say that they're your friend, but really, they just want to catch some of that fame coming off of you. This being a very bad way to put it. Miruko basically saying that they're basically just trying to be Midoriya's friend because of the simple fact that he, well, will be a very big pro hero one day. Saying with absolute confidence that, in fact, they believe that one day he might be number one. This surprising Midoriya, and actually intriguing him. Now, Miruko actually did a good job putting those into words. Since Midoriya did at least peak up a little bit and seem a little bit more happy. Now, they did at least then take Midoriya out for ice cream in civilian clothing and try and at least show off a bit more what both of them can do with their own quirks. Midoriya soaring through the air and having fun in the sky. Along with Miruko at least showing off that within confined spaces is one of the best ways for her quirk to be utilized. Basically showing Midoriya that whenever he does jump around, it does seem to be a lot easier in a confined space. Whenever the distance is smaller, that means that you have to react faster. Her showing Midoriya this by basically having him hold onto her back and running through an alleyway, parkouring her way to a rooftop. Her having done it in no sweat, but you have Midoriya, who is dizzy as hell. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I will catch you guys in the next part.